What is a business? What is business? This is the video for you. Let's look at it like this. There are inputs you put into a business and the business will produce outputs. Inputs. You could think if you are a chocolate company, then you'll need a farm for your cocoa tree to make cocoa to turn that into chocolate. That cocoa tree where you have your farm, that is land. You'll need employees, labour. You'll need robots. You'll need a factory in order to do this. That's called capital. And there needs to be an entrepreneur that is organised, has ideas, and is able to take a risk in order to get a reward, likely profit, and that's called enterprise. These four items, land, labour, capital, enterprise, are known as the factors of production. Further details on my factors of production video. A business. So a business is often, as it grows, divided up into four sections. These are operations, human resources, sometimes called HR, marketing, and finance. These four divisions of a company are all seen as internal factors. Also, they are your units for your GCSE business. If you're doing AQA, then it will be actually operations is unit 3, HR is unit 4, marketing is unit 5, and finance is unit 6. If you do other specifications, it will be broken down ever so slightly, but the essence is pretty much the same. So these are all internal to the business because the business is in control of them. However, the business has external factors that affect them, coming from outside the business. External pressures. Examples are, number one, the economy. How the economy is faring will affect the business. If the economy is not doing very well, growth is low, it will affect many businesses. Sometimes it will affect them positively. Most of the time it will affect them negatively. You've got inflation, exchange rates, unemployment. They will all affect the business. Exchange rates, you might import your cocoa from abroad. So how much the pound is worth will make a big difference to you. Check out my exchange rates video for more details on that. Also, external pressures, laws. Sometimes laws are called regulation. They're set by governments. Minimum wage. If the minimum wage were to increase, that will affect how much you pay in labour to your employees. And that's a cost of production, so that will affect your costs. Consumer protection. Sometimes there are regulations, laws that are put in to make sure that goods and services meet a certain quality. Consumer protection is very important. But that extra quality, that could mean extra costs because you might now have to employ more labour, you might need better capital in order to cover that. Also, you need to think, you need to be ethical. It's not a law, but it's a consideration. You need to be ethical. You need to be doing the morally correct thing. For example, should you, as a big business, should you use fair trade, for example? Should you use zero-hour contracts? These are big considerations. Check out my video on that one. Okay, so inputs go into a business, creates outputs. Outputs usually come in two forms, goods and services. These are both explained very shortly after this stage. Stay tuned. Goods and services, whether it's a tangible product that's a good or it's an intangible process that's a service, will have an environmental impact, and that's another external pressure and consideration a business should make. For example, carbon footprint is now a growing issue within business and the economy. For example, 1% of coffee cups are currently recycled, which means 99% of coffee cups are not recycled. This is a big thing for a business to consider. However, they could also use it to their advantage. There is a coffee business called Costa that is now trying to increase the amount of coffee cups that it recycles, and that is a form of marketing. So you can use these external pressures to your benefits. Stay tuned, and now I'm going to explain goods and services in more detail. So we're looking at the outputs that a business produces. They can be goods or they can be services, and it's important to make the distinction between these two things. So a good is a tangible product. By tangible, I mean it's a physical thing that you can hold, like an iPhone, for example, like a toy. So a physical object to satisfy consumers' needs and wants. That's the definition that you need to know for goods. The word consumers, if that's confusing you, that's someone who buys a good or service from a business. Just anyone that buys a good or service from a business. So, needs and wants. Needs and wants are different things. We think we need an iPhone, we do not. We want an iPhone. So needs are like food and water, things that keep us alive. They are essential items. These are supplied by some businesses. Food, for example, you get at a supermarket, as well as water. Some companies produce water, like Buxton, for example. Wants, iPhone or toys, as mentioned before. And these are non-essential items. So it's just important to keep the distinction within these, because there are different types of goods. The opposite of a good is a service. A service is an intangible process. When you think of the word intangible, you're thinking about the fact that you cannot hold it. You physically cannot hold the car wash after your car's been washed, can you? Whether you can hold the iPhone after you bought that. So you're thinking intangible, can't hold it. So it's about process, it's about actions to satisfy consumers. Examples of those: car wash, hairdressers, barbers, I need to go to the barbers later, and banking, for example. Banks are an example of a service provided to consumers. I hope that helps with your exams. Be great, stay humble. Good luck with your exams.